Are you currently using the built-in speakers on your computer or television? Or are you using a cheap Bluetooth speaker to listen to your favorite music? What if I told you that you could significantly improve your audio experience, whether you're gaming, watching movies, or just listening to music, for just a little under $170? That's what Edifier's R1280Ts bookshelf speakers bring to the table, and in this video I'm going to go over why they might be the perfect audio upgrade for you. I also have a 10% off discount code you can use to get these speakers for even less, so be sure to stick around to the end of the video to get that code. Let's first talk about what comes in the box and what the speaker set's specifications are. The R1280Ts come with all the cables and wires you'll need to set these speakers up on your computer. However, as I found out, if you want to set these up on a modern television, you may need an adapter, as certain newer televisions forego RCA output connections. I'll show you the adapter I use to get the R1280Ts working on my TV in just a moment. The box includes speaker wire to connect the two speakers, and two sets of RCA cables, including an RCA to 3.5mm auxiliary cable, which will allow you to connect these speakers to your computer. You also get a wireless controller that will allow you to power on and off the speakers, control the volume, mute the speakers, and toggle the Soundfield Spatializer feature on and off. More on that feature in just a second. There's also a quick guide manual to help you get these speakers set up in short time. For the speakers themselves, they come encased in an MDF wood panel that has a walnut finish. These things look great and will add a nice aesthetic element to your setup. For me, they pair very well with my Okino Cypress 7 computer case, and they help enhance the look and feel of my workspace. These speakers are a bit on the smaller size for bookshelf speakers, measuring in at 234mm tall, 146mm wide, and 196mm deep, and weighing a combined 10.8 pounds, but that makes them excellent options for computer users where desktop space is limited. And as I found listening to these speakers, their smaller size doesn't inhibit them from delivering an excellent listening experience. For the speaker system, the R1280Ts come with a 4-inch mid-woofer and a 1/2-inch silk dome tweeter. Edifier rates the output of the R1280Ts at 42 watts RMS total, that's 21 watts for each speaker. The frequency response on these speakers is listed as 52 Hz to 20 kHz, and it has a signal-to-noise ratio of 85 decibels or higher. Of the two speakers, one of the speakers is active and the other is passive. On the back of the active speaker, you'll find the connection ports that will allow you to connect the provided speaker wire to the passive speaker. You'll also find a subwoofer output that will allow you to expand to a 2.1 setup. That's something that the non-S R1280T lacks. You'll also find two sets of RCA inputs, a power cable, and an on and off switch. And on the side of the active speaker, you get three knobs that allow you to adjust the treble, bass, and volume so that you can dial in the sound to suit your needs. To set these speakers up, you simply need to connect the passive speaker to the active speaker, connect the active speaker to your computer, TV, or receiver using one of the provided RCA cables, plug it in, and then switch the power button on. I tested these speakers on both my computer and on my Samsung Frame TV. To get a good idea of how these speakers sounded, I played games, listened to music, and watched movies. Coming from using this cheap little soundbar on my desktop, the jump in the audio experience on my PC was incredible. It's been a long time since I've just sat and listened to music, but I kept wanting to try out new songs to see how they sounded on the 1280Ts. I noticed that these speakers sounded great even at extremely high volume levels, although on some bass-heavy songs, like during the heavy drum solo in Phil Collins's In the Air Tonight, the bass would fall apart a bit. Now, I'm not an audiophile, but I'm assuming that's pretty standard for speakers in this price range. Either way, just turning down the volume on those kinds of songs a bit restored clarity. I also played through Cyberpunk 2077 for an hour or so, and that's a game that has pretty good audio, what with all of the action and explosions, the dialogue, and the background noises of Night City. And the 1280Ts really helped the game feel more immersive. For the Soundfield Spatializer feature, Edifier says that this unique feature creates a wide-filed sound by optimizing each channel, sending out opposite signals to eliminate mutual interference and improve separation. I tested this feature both on and off, and ultimately I just ended up leaving it on. Now, I don't have the expertise to explain the difference in sound quality when using this feature, but the best I can describe it is that the sound sort of spreads out a bit more when the setting is turned on. I also set these speakers up on my Samsung Frame TV to test them as a home theater option. As I mentioned earlier, I ran into a little bit of trouble trying to hook these up, as the Frame TV's receiver doesn't have RCA connections. So I had to pick up this $20 ARC audio extractor from Amazon, and that did allow me to connect the 1280Ts to my TV. I watched a bit of The Lord of the Rings on these speakers, and just like with playing Cyberpunk 2077, it really made the movie feel more immersive and more impressive. I did notice though that at lower volume levels it was hard to hear the dialogue over loud background noises. I also watched a baseball game, and these speakers really brought out the sound from the stadium, which made the broadcast a lot more fun to watch. But again, at lower volume, the background noises from the fans in the stadium drowned out the voices of the broadcasters a bit. Again, I'm not an expert in audio hardware, but perhaps my living room is a little too big for these speakers because I didn't have this problem when using these speakers on my computer, where I was sitting much closer to the speakers, and my office is also in a much smaller room. Either way, this problem was fixed by just turning up the volume a bit. And even if these weren't the perfect speaker options for my TV setup and living room, the audio experience was significantly better than what the built-in speakers on the frame TV offered. And really, that's where I think these speakers shine. They aren't S-tier level speakers meant for extreme audiophiles with large budgets, but they will deliver a significantly upgraded audio experience for the majority of users, especially for those who have either been using the built-in speakers on their computers or TVs, or who have been using a cheaper speaker setup. Ultimately, I'm really happy with these speakers, and I can't recommend them enough to the kinds of users I just described. They've been a much welcomed upgrade to my setup. If you are interested in picking up the R1280Ts, I've left a link to them in the description below. And if you use the code TechGuided10, you can get 10% off your purchase. But that does it for this review. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.